Shall I conduct? Beautiful morning, Dad. Kudos to you. Well done, well done, well done. I'm proud of you.
Charlie, we'll start our church soon.
Oh, very soon.
Yeah.
We'll be the first to
Yes.
adore the National
and
Cathedral.
you know what? You see, when you're singing these songs and you listen to the words, what you feel in your heart, the upliftment.
Yeah.
You are so excited. Sometimes you forget all the troubles you have. And you get so excited that you think that, hey, the world is all rosy, but it's not.
Yeah.
God is great. He's always with us, and He will be with us all.
Exactly.
Good morning, God.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday, yeah? It's Thursday morning. The issues keep popping up. One issue goes, another pops up.
Oh, yes.
That's why you should be
You
singing
shouldn't have
more.
yeah,
That's why
exactly.
you should be singing.
You need to sing more so that you can forget all these issues.
Exactly.
But interestingly, the song also says, even when you go through the bad times, always remember that He's with you.
Yeah.
And also, don't say you love God, but you don't love your brother who sits next to you. And I think that's very important in Ghana, particularly in this time where people would immediately do the social media thing, but forget about the humanity. The fact that if you stopped picking your phone to take pictures and you helped that individual in that particular time, God would bless you for doing good and for saving a life. Maybe we should do more
Yes,
of that.
I remember in 2016, Alfred and I were going out to Pram to host a election command center debates. And we met a very fatal accident on the motorway. Many were injured, some dead. And so we had to stop and we were helping them. And then somebody just got out from a trotro and started taking photos and videos. So there was a policeman who came in. He actually tapped the guy, strongly. He says, can't you see even the journalists are helping the people? You, what is your qualification? So we're gradually becoming a society that's more interested in trying to get things to put on social media to make them trend, to make us feel important. And we should move away from that.
We should.
That's the point. It's good. Good to have to know that. It's a weekend starting. Today's a Thursday morning, and I'm sure you're excited that gradually you're getting to the end of the week. Perhaps a few things you penciled down to do, you're not yet through them. It means that you have to be worried about it if you haven't gotten to the end of it. But if you are getting to the end, it means that you're on track. If you haven't, it's not lost yet. Go back and regather the pieces and move on.
But let's say a happy birthday. Today is 30th August, and a happy birthday goes out to Harriet. Harriet Asunda here, her spiritual mother, Reverend Benedicta Dodd. It's coming from here, as well as all HMI members. They say, happy birthday. May God richly bless you. Stay blessed.
HMI members.
HMI, happy birthday to all of them, and God bless them. I have mixed
home managers, individuals. Okay.
Hopeful Ministries and corporate.
Hopeful. So they give hope to people.
Yeah, I thought home managers, individuals.
I have mixed feelings today because 3 years ago today my father passed. Yeah, it was
on the 30th of August.
Yes, 30th. It was. I had met him on a Saturday.
Today's 30th or 31st?
Yeah, 30th. Tomorrow week. So
on
Sunday.
Hurry, Papa.
Yeah, you know why.
I met him on a Saturday. We had a long chat. Sunday morning, my kid brother calls me that my father is
so it happened on a Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday
morning. That's a good day to be.
He was preparing to go to morning mass when it happened. So ADP Johnny Hughes Senior, rest in peace.
Wherever you are.
Return is impossible. Guys. So from all of us, rest in peace.
But I'm told we'll meet. And George, we'll meet because George, for instance, is a reincarnated being.
Okay.
But serious.
Well, were you the one who brought him back?
Yeah, I know.
He looks like one of my grand uncles.
Yeah, he's
George, are you serious?
Oh, yeah, he's red.
But interesting, when we meet, you wouldn't know Johnny is Johnny. You wouldn't know George is George. Would just be individual.
But there are some of the things he does that gives me the indication that I know him from somewhere.
That I'm mature.
Yeah. He's gone and
know him from your past
and he's
life.
come back.
Yeah.
But guys, I'll come back. Okay. I'll come back.
Charlie, where is that your horse? The horse that you used to ride back in the day? The horse and chariot.
I used to ride a horse.
Talking about the life
like
before
in Pharaoh land. Don't mind Johnny, they're just trying to pull
The guy was a gringo when the life pass, he's back. All right. Good morning, George.
Yeah, good morning. So this is up next here on your favorite morning show. Do stay. And it's time for news. We are live on DSTV channel 279. And coming up, teachers at all 46 colleges of education across the country to lay down their tools in October over their welfare packages. Two persons escaped death after a Takoradi-bound train crashed into a moving truck. German Chancellor Angela Merkel expected in the country today for her first state visit to Ghana. And on the foreign front, Myanmar Dam breach floods 85 villages, dives thousands from homes. Thanks for seeing now the news in details. On to our very first story. Teachers at the 46 colleges of education across the country will lay down their tools in October if government fails to address their concerns. This is to register their displeasure over what they described as a lackadaisical attitude of past and present government towards extending market premiums, book and research allowances to them.
Present at the press briefing were the National Executive Officers of Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, SETAG, zonal chairpersons across the country, as well as local chairpersons and secretaries of all colleges in the Eastern and Greater Accra zone. They lamented their members have been discriminated against and marginalized since the passage of the Colleges of Education Act in 2012, Act 847, which upgraded training colleges to tertiary colleges of education status. Tutors in these colleges therefore possess the minimum requirement needed to teach at tertiary levels. According to them, SETAG members remain the only category of teachers in the tertiary education fraternity who do not enjoy market premium, but rather retention premium meant for pre-tertiary teachers. The association is unhappy with the development.
We are by this press conference telling government that if at the beginning of the academic year in October, government does not negotiate market premium and book and research allowance for members of SETAG and implement same, members will embark on the longest indefinite industrial action Ghana is yet to witness.
They also raised concerns over the undue delay in constituting governing councils for the colleges of education.
The vacuum created violates Act 847, which continues to have adverse effects on the smooth running of the institutions in the face of the following: delay in decision-making initiatives which is worsening the plight of members in the institutions, undue delay in promotion of deserving tutors who have had to serve for over 7 years without going through any form of promotion.
The group was worried about the introduction of a 4-year Bachelor of Education degree program, which begins in October. Though the teachers say they support the program, they contend they are yet to see the new curriculum to be implemented, let alone being oriented to be abreast with its content. SETAG executives say the delay may affect the effective implementation of the curriculum.
And journalist from the Ghana News Agency who has been alleged to have reported an alleged attack on APC founder Hassan Ayariga has been speaking to TV3 about how he was assaulted by some unknown thugs. And Jay Azanduna says his electronic gadgets were seized by the alleged thugs, and reports were trending over the weekend that a fabric producer, Adam Sawa, has allegedly attacked and assaulted Hassan Ayariga at his home last Monday, a day to the Eid Adha celebrations. But APC founder has denied it, saying there's no substance to the story.
I received a call from some young men that they want to organize a press conference in Boku. So I told them that I'm currently away for an assignment. So when I return back, I will make it up to them. So on my return, I went back, I called them and they said they were having a press conference at Kariyama Fowl Market in Boku. So it was there, I followed up to the place. When I got there, they asked me to park my car and join their car. Simple, because the place is not far and it is not be wise for us to be using 2 cars and burning fuel. And there's one of the guys that I know, so I was okay. I felt I thought I didn't feel any threat. So from there I joined their car, and when we were going, they started going round the town, just passing corner. I don't know where they were sending me to. So it was there the elder from Bokuna Best Palace assured me that they will not touch me again. I should come and sit down, and then they solved the problem. So the moment I got there, the man asked me again, do you know what the story you wrote about my assault has caused me? So I was about to open my mouth to explain myself out. Oh, when I just say a word, I was just about to say a word. No, they jumped on me, beat me mercilessly. Some were holding shovels and other things. He hit me left and right, so I fell unconscious until the army commander who is in charge of the Boku area, he came in. So when the man came in, he asked who is lying down, and then they said, oh, there's a journalist who wrote the story about Hassan Ayaga. So they are beating him. So the army commander quickly put me inside his car, drove me to the police station. I made a police report, and then they took me to the hospital, and I went and seek for treatment.
And still on this development, the founder and leader of All People's Congress, APC, Hassan Ayaga, has condemned his boys for attacking a journalist from the Ghana News Agency at Boko in the Upper East region. The APC leader, however, demands a retraction and an apology from the journalist on an earlier report that he was involved in a batik tie and dye deal.
Over the weekend, reports were rife that the journalists from the Ghana News Agency have been attacked by Hassan Ayariga's supporters for allegedly publishing false news. In the story, the journalists alleged that a fabric producer, Adam Sawal, had attacked and assaulted Hassan Ayariga at his home a day to the Eid al-Adha celebrations. The journalist, Jerry Azanduna, who opened up to TV3 for the first time after the incident, accused Ayariga and his boys for maltreating him.
The man asked me again, do you know what the story you wrote about my assault has caused me? So I was about to open my mouth to explain myself out. Oh, when I just say a word, I was just about to say a word. No, they jumped on me, beat me mercilessly. Some were holding shovels and other things. He hit me left and right, so I fell unconscious until the army commander who is in charge of the Boku area, he came in. So when the man came in, he asked who is lying down, and then they said, oh, there's a journalist who wrote the story about Hassan Ayaga. So they are beating him. So the army commander quickly put me inside his car, drove me to the police station. I made a police report, and then they took me to the hospital, and I went and seek for treatment.
The founder of APC, Hassan Ayaga, says he regrets the action of his boys.
I am not happy of it, and I think that the act by my party member was not the best, and I apologize on behalf of my party members. But then I am still waiting for the behavior of the journalist is not the best at all.
But he was quick to refute claims in an earlier report put out by the journalist.
In the story, the gentleman even said that I confirmed that I was beaten to the ground. Seriously, I don't know what kind of journalism and journalists we have here in this country who think that because they have the power of the pen, they can destroy the integrity of people with just 3-4 paragraphs. Today, I am told that the GJA, Afulmani, has again issued a statement saying that Hassan Ayariga has hired boys to beat a journalist. Come on, Mr. Aful. I think you are beyond that. Don't join those people who write anything for people to read.
And away from the Upper East region, let's shift to the Western region, where a train on its way to haul manganese from Nsota in the Takwa Nswaye municipality ran into an articulated truck at the Gate 10 level crossing at the Takoradi port. The accident is reported to have happened around 4 a.m. That's yesterday. Passenger train services from Takoradi to Sekondi via Kojokrom and other trucks going in and out of the Takoradi port from Gate 10 could not move due to the accident.
According to an eyewitness, Joseph Opong, the train, with about 20 empty wagons, had crossed the level when it suddenly started reversing. He explained the signalman at the level crossing had by the time already waved his flag for cars to also pass. Joseph Opong explained the affected articulated truck, which had already started moving, was the first car to be affected.
Cars na wa park and wa masin. Nti cars na start na wa ba no. Na main gate ade so ade ahon so etwa kakra. Nti car ba no ka finfin. Nti cars so wo nechi so won so ade wa ba no. Nti ade connection o kwen na train so be chi na ode ba hit no.
Nti no che de ekon no ntum ko n'anyima ntum ko n'echi.
Nti o kam wo finfin ho. Nti o kam wo finfin de na main gate o am no. Inside no hade no na we choke line wa ha. Na nti cars si wo. Nti o ade no so o ka do warm no na offended. Cars so when it is almost started all by nti o kam go finfin de nti o kwere ni mo o kwere cho na train ru so o kwere n'anim de no ba n'echi na o ba hit car no.
The driver was left unharmed as he is reported to have jumped out of the truck on seeing the approaching wagon. Passenger train services running on the newly constructed suburban rail line from Takoradi to Sekondi via Kojokrom could not run. Articulated trucks going to Gassem, Takoradi Flour Mills, Ghana Manganese Company Jetty and the Takoradi Port could not move for several hours as the accident had blocked the level crossing. However, pickup and other light vehicles were able to meander their way around the blockade. Engineers from the Ghana Railways Company Limited were on hand with a crane to lift the derailed wagon. They have been able to clear the accident, giving way for the trucks and other transport services to resume.
If you just tune in, you're watching news here on NEWDAY. We are live on DSTV channel 279. And 3 persons have narrowly escaped death after armed robbers opened fire on them while they tried to prevent the robbers from robbing their target. The 3, Abdul Razak, 22, Fuseni Ibrahim, 17, and Idrisu Imoro, 29, are all natives of Yendi in the Northern region. And a police report issued by the Northern Regional Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Yusuf Tanko, said the Yendi Police Division on August 28, 2018, at about 5:25 p.m., received information that gunshots were fired at the Yendi Market area. Police proceeded to the scene and found 5 empty AK-47 shells and bloodstains on the ground. On the spot, investigations revealed that a businessman and foreign currency dealer, Kofi Boatin, was attacked by 2 unidentified men in mask at gunpoint and robbed all of his money. The 3 other persons at the scene who were trying to prevent the armed robbery were shot. The casualties were rushed to Yendi Government Hospital where they are receiving medical treatment. Meanwhile, efforts are being made to track down the armed robbers. And on to business, where the management of Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, CBG, has taken notice of reports in the media about massive layoffs to be effected by the bank as part of efforts to implement the purchase and assumption transaction it undertook following the recent distress of 5 banks. CBG informs the general public that it has established an integration roadmap with the objective of right-sizing the branch network and rationalizing headcount, amongst others. Whilst this may involve some reduction in headcount, management is taking steps to ensure that this does not impose undue hardship on its staff. A core part of this integration and rationalization exercise is career training programs for all staff who may be exited as a result. CBG is also finalizing a plan for affected staff to transition to other economic models, which will enable them provide essential outsourced services to the bank where appropriate. CBG is an indigenous bank with a strong balance sheet, well positioned to protect the best interests of its depositors and staff. We look forward to an enduring partnership with all stakeholders to build an entity that will transcend this generation, they concluded. The Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, says his audit service will soon begin construction audits to check the quality of roads and buildings constructed by government. And at the 2018 audit launch in Accra, he stressed the initiative is to ensure value for money and apply sanctions to contractors who execute substandard contracts in the country.
The 2018 audit launch was aimed at educating heads of departments and agencies on the importance of auditing and the legal framework that backs the operations of the service. It also gave participants the opportunity to abreast themselves with the available sanctions failure to comply with audit rules. In a presentation, the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Procurement Authority, Ajenim Boateneji, said single sourcing is a legitimate procurement method, but the challenge is its abuse by public officers.
Even under agency, where people will have to apply to PPA for sole source under certificate of agency, the law categorically say that it should not be as a result of dilatory conduct.
The project director of Public Financial Management Reforms Project at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, said the law does not allow political heads to be principal spending officers, but this does not happen in most ministries.
The minister cannot authorize commitments under the law. Under the law, the minister, i.e. of Food and Agric, had not been identified as being responsible for the management of the public funds in Agric. Why wouldn't we have our ministers concentrating on policy? So then we have the technocrats managing the day-to-day work of money.
The Auditor General Daniel Domelevo, on his part, said the audit service will soon rule out measures to audit all aspects of the economy, which will come with tough sanctions.
Anytime government loses money, we can disallow and surcharge the person whose negligence or non-performance or misbehavior brought it about. And therefore, it's time we don't surcharge only expenditure, but revenue. We go after revenue as well. And we are going to do that. We all see our roads constructed within a year, and they are gone. We are going to look at them.
He again stated the service will disallow the payment of salaries of heads of department and agencies who do not comply with the 30-day deadline of response of observation by the audit service. He also hinted of damning reports from 2 regions covered in the ongoing audit of payrolls in the country.
And wrapping up with some international news, as many as 85 villages were flooded in Myanmar after a dam failed, unleashing waters that blocked a major highway and forced more than 63,000 people from their homes, a state-run newspaper said on Thursday. The disaster spotlights safety concerns about dams in Southeast Asia after last month's collapse of a hydroelectric dam in neighboring Laos that displaced thousands of people and killed at least 27. Firefighters, troops and officials launched a desperate rescue effort on Wednesday after the spillway of an irrigation dam burst at Swa Creek in central Myanmar, sending the torrent of water through villages and the nearby towns of Swa and Yadash. The ruptured spillway had flooded 85 villages, affecting more than 63,000 people and submerging a section of highway, the paper added. And that's how we end news here on New Day. You can get more news updates on our website, 3news.com. Alternatively, you can join the news team at 12 on Midday Live. I'm George Queenie. Thanks for watching. Good morning.
Welcome back and happy birthday to Reverend Benedicta Dodd. This is from Harriet Asumda here and the HMI choir members. We wish you all the best, long life and prosperity. Plus, if it's your birthday today, enjoy the best of blessings from us. The Ghanaian Times starts us off. It says FIFA mandates Normalization Committee to run GFA election. And President welcomes German Chancellor. Plus, stop burning e-waste at Agbegloshi. President orders. I heard President Mahama make a similar order. Nothing has happened. Government, clergy, agreed to tax churches for commercial activities. Okay. The Daily Graphic says religious bodies to pay taxes. Government leaders agree, and Brexit will not affect UK-Ghana trade. Mortality rate drops at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It comes with a photograph. See Archbishop Duncan Williams, Reverend Owusu Bempa there, Bishop Toto of the Anglican Church there, Reverend Dr. Joyce I see a Catholic bishop also there. Some very interesting, notable faces in the Christian fraternity there. They're all agreeing that, well, we'll pay taxes for commercialization. The Daily Statement, President Akufo-Addo hosts German Chancellor. GNPC defends KK Sapon over $7.5 million US dollars property deal. And NDC government to collapse data bank. Okay. Daily Guide. Mosquito, I need a whole lock horns over NDC post. German leader arrives. And Nana meets pastors, imams over free SHS, leaves for China. AG's office computers stolen. By who? Find out. By copy and read. The Daily Heritage says Africa Magic Viewers Choice Awards September 1st. Okay, if you were watching. Bonanza for poultry farmers as government rolls out plans to build processing plants across country. NDC government will give you justice. Bank crisis, Adongo to bank owners, and CBG to render hundreds jobless as it confirms dismissal reports. So 1,700 people will lose their job from the consolidated bank. Data Bank not involved in any form of consolidation with any universal bank. That's the Data Bank CEO there. And Freight and Trade Chamber support CTN implementation. Plus, revoke licenses of idle oil block holders. ASEP tells government. I think that's a very good call. And Consolidated Bank assures measures to reduce job losses impact. The Business Finder. Private sector growth dips. Government faces risk from bauxite deal, according to Fitch. And CD depreciation high, non-performing loans are major factors for the private sector growth dips. An appeal to governor for your monies. Austin Game, labor expert, is telling those who lost their jobs. And GMPC rejects conflict of interest accusation. There you have it. Stories on the front page.
Yes, there are very interesting. But this, I mean, this story is a bit, for me, a bit confusing because it creates the impression
the oil blocks?
No, the religious bodies.
Okay.
If you take a look at the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Graphic, I think the Daily Guide too has it. It creates the impression that churches are not paying taxes on their commercial activities. And the story in the Ghanaian Times is suggesting that, or I think the Daily Graphic is suggesting that they have agreed to tax commercial activities of churches. But I think that the law is simply like that. I mean, once a church is engaged in any commercial activity, they are supposed to pay taxes. I think the problem is the GRA's ability to collect the taxes. Except somebody will tell me that churches wholesale do not pay taxes in everything that they do. No, Other than that, for instance, those churches running universities, we know they are paying taxes. Yeah. So if you read the story, it suggests that the agreement was that churches will, or they have agreed to pay taxes on their commercial activities. It's a bit confusing for me.
But I think really where that comes in is the fact that we have been talking about this taxations, not because the churches don't pay taxes over the commercial, properties or commercial activities. But what it has been is those activities that are commercial, but they still find a way of putting it under church activities, and so they don't necessarily have to be taxed for, is what we're worried about.
Well, some people will be selling, all manner of things in church, all in the name of church, but it is a commercial activity. And something such as that is what we're bringing to light for them to be taxed
so in that case,
and so I think that's where the confusion.
It is not a check. As for taxes, if you allow me, I will evade tax.
Right.
No two ways about it. If you give me the leeway, I'll use that leeway. Now, if the churches are selling all kinds of things and putting them under let's say offerings or tithes, then it is up to the GRA to determine what is commercial and what is not. As for the churches, if you allow them, they will keep their money. Why not?
There's another angle in the meeting about the flamboyance of some of these pastors. Right. So because they get to go away, I mean, to even have consultation, which in the Anglican or Catholic church will be confession or counseling. In other churches, Methodist churches do it, other churches do it as well. You don't pay. I won't pay my priest to go to him for him to consult him to counsel me. Yes, if I had a bad dream, I thought it's spiritual, I go to my priest or my bishop. My church doesn't say there's a fee for it. However, you find a lot of these are actually announcing on television a mobile money number where people need to pay ahead, say a 300 Ghana cedis, just to come and join a queue to meet him to tell them what.
Is that an offering?
No, you see, as soon as you put out the mobile money and you say that pay X amount, 300, 500 Ghana for VIP to come and meet me to tell you a direction.
It's not an offering.
No, it's not.
And I think it's the
church. You see now you are demanding for money for a service.
Wait, Johnny, wait. So the point here is that if I have to see a pastor and I have to pay money, that money is taxable. You see,
where you're running it like a business. Where in the Bible, where we told that people paid before meeting God.
No, but you are giving out the money to open blessings for you.
No, so you are giving out the money to assess a certain service.
Exactly.
You see, people are now selling salt. They're selling oil. They're selling handkerchiefs. They are selling pomade. They're selling water. They're selling everything, church. They have all manner of names for it. And they tell you that these things will, if you like, turn your life around if you buy them.
So it's a gray area.
So, no,
that's
Johnny,
what I think the problem is.
That's why I'm saying that. You see,
it is not
the churches that are dodging the tax. I think that the GRA is not on top of the game as to what to tax and what not to tax.
You see, right.
Because if I say that, tomorrow we're going to share anointing oil. Drop your blessings and let God bless you back. Well, I've not actually come to pay one city.
The Anglican Church, for example, runs a hostel. ICGC runs a university. Yeah. Nobody will tell them that, look, when you collect the money, go and declare and pay taxes. Right. To have your documents. So they pay those taxes.
Those are clearly
those are clearly defined, spaces. Sometimes it starts sometimes as a residence for pastors and then they convert it to but they go and pay taxes. Right. When the priests reside there for free, nobody pays taxes on them, maybe property rate. But as soon as it becomes a commercialized entity, so if you go to church and your priest or your pastor has anointing oil and there's anointing service and he has not collected money from anybody, but he dips his hand and he smears it on your forehead, nobody is asking for tax from such a person. But where he goes to buy 7 boxes, he takes this box and puts a tag on it. When you buy this one at 500 Ghana and you use it, he's getting into commercialization. Now you see, the church of old, used to have a lot of, look, go around town.
Okay, wait.
Wesley Girls' School was built by the Methodists from the people's offerings. Today, those churches who are selling oil, gari, banku, everything in the church. What is the social impact of those people?
Now,
apart from showing off what Rolls Royce they can find, how many wives they can marry and divorce, and what clothes they can wear.
Assuming that pastor buys this oil at, let's say, 1 cedi, and says that, all right, this is the oil that I have blessed after our 21-day fast.
Right.
Everyone needs one if you want blessings for the next year. Drop whatever you have and pick one. Does it amount to
I wish you were drop whatever you have.
I wish you were a secular issue. We're talking about Christianity. Let's be plain and frank. And our manual is the Bible. In the Bible, we're not taught these things. And so, right when you move away from and you start selling things, it is commercial.
No,
period.
wait. I want
think
us
that's
to
If I go to
let's not even try and make this something that we can understand.
If I go to
or
church on a regular
away.
Sunday, the collection bowl is there. The sermon is preached. And they start playing the music for us to file up and go and put our money. And I put my money. Nobody is asking me to put in a specific amount.
You see,
whatever I put is my business.
Yes.
But then when after the offering, the guy has blessed a couple of handkerchiefs. And he raises and says, look, if you need blah, 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 buy this handkerchief at 1,000 Ghana cedis and wipe your face from the left to the right and right to left.
So that one has to be taxed.
I think you're moving into commercial.
How much is one handkerchief?
I see.
I think you are. Anyway.
Interesting. But you see,
but they've agreed.
GRA has a lot of work. I mean,
yeah.
if indeed this is what was agreed on, then there's a lot of work that will have to be done.
But you see, the funny thing is that I'm looking at the picture here, and most of the people who actually attended these meetings don't do those things.
Right.
You won't find Duncan Williams putting a mobile money number to say somebody should. You won't find Bishop Toto doing that. You won't find the Catholic bishops doing that. You won't find the Methodist bishop doing that. So now the people here, the very people who are complicit in this particular matter.
I know that.
Well, maybe I see Reverend Uzubempa. I don't know if he sells oil and all of these things. But why were those people not invited to the meeting?
No, they were there. It's just that picture didn't capture them.
Oh, I'm not seeing them. Because you see them
yesterday through the screenshot. I mean, I saw a couple
you know
of
they have
yes,
particular suits that they wear, the shoes and you know.
Anyway, guys, it's time for us to rant, and we're still talking about Albon Babin's apology, whether it was a real one, whether he was forced to do it, or whether it sat well with the people he spoke about. Let's step out there and find out what your views are.
This is what it feels like. The Deputy Second Speaker of Parliament and the Member of Parliament for Naudoli Kaliu constituency, Alban Bagbin, in a press conference has apologized to Ghanaians on his comments that he made during his Volta regional campaign tour. However, he was quick, or he refused to accept that his comments was an attack on persons with disabilities. According to him, former ministers who were appointed by ex-president Mahama were good, but they were not good for the positions he gave them. Today with me are some NDC activists in the Tamale Central constituency, and we are going to rant on this issue. What are their thoughts about what the parliamentarian said? Gentlemen.
I disagree with him vividly. This gentleman has been the longest serving member of parliament in the Fourth Republic. But I don't see why he should come out and make such unguarded statement. So I disagree with him. He did not apologize to anyone. And he has to come out and stand the same platform and apologize to those particular personalities and apologize to NDC.
As in mentioning their names again, just like...
Yes, as in mentioning their names. He has to mention Dr. Omani Kwama, mention the former chieftaincy minister, mentioning, what's his name, the one at the Volta region, our former deputy education minister. He has to apologize to all of them because we didn't expect him to say that.
For staying there, welcome back. Now, in the next 45 minutes, we'll engage my guest on what's on the front and back pages, as well as the center pages of some of our newspapers I have here this morning. And hugely this morning, the Times, the Guide, and the Graphic are on the meeting with religious bodies, leaders of the Christian and Muslim faith at Jubilee House. On the Daily Graphic, religious bodies to pay taxes. Government leaders agree. Nana meets pastors, imams over free senior high school, at least for China. That's Daily Graphic. Government clergy agree to tax churches for commercial activities. It's a huge story this morning. But we'll also take a look at other issues, particularly with the Hajj and the cathedral, the building of the National Cathedral. My guest is a member of the NDC and a legal practitioner. It's Abraham Amaliba is here. Good morning.
Good morning, right.
Hope you're doing great.
Very well.
Thanks for your time. So waiting for my other guest from the NPP. Now, let's start a conversation from the Jubilee House this morning. So the story is very clear, not a new one. the debate as to whether the churches should pay taxes or not. But the Times is suggesting that President Akufo-Addo yesterday held a closed-door breakfast meeting with the clergy to discuss, among other things, the need to enforce the country's laws on taxes within religious circles. We're told by the Times that although there was no official briefing on what transpired at the meeting, snippets of information gathered indicate that the government and the clergy agreed on the need to tax the commercial activities or commercial aspects of activities of the various religious bodies. That's the story. The president also touched on the opulence and constant struggle for power that had characterized churches in recent times. And that's the story as put out there by the Ghanaian Times. Mr. Malbert, now, this is what happened yesterday. The agreement is that what the churches do commercially should be taxed. Some have suggested that this is not new and that as far as it is a commercial activity, the churches should pay taxes. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. This whole debate has been a running debate. Churches to pay tax or not to pay. It's not a recent phenomenon, but the president rekindled this debate when he took a swipe at some of these religious leaders for their opulence and the way they dress. And intimated that as a result of that, there's likely to be some issues relating to whether they should start taxing them or not. Yesterday, the president held a meeting with some religious leaders or church leaders. And if the reportage says that the president and the clergy have reached an agreement to tax churches, the next question to ask is, in which areas are these taxes going to be imposed? From what you have read, it simply talks about the commercial activities of the churches. The question to ask, is this new? So once again, the president has hoodwinked all of us to think that he's been able to achieve something, when nothing has been achieved. Indeed, when churches operate hospitals, they pay taxes. The workers who work in those churches, hospitals, pay income tax, Senate, and all those things. When churches operate schools, they pay taxes. It's not new, Mr. President. Mr. President, you have not achieved anything yesterday. Probably you only drank tea with them. And so for the president to come out and, or for the reporter to make it look like the president was able to achieve something with the religious leaders, is to hoodwink all of us into thinking that that meeting was productive and it resulted in now more taxes. So because when you say this, it means more taxes are going to come into the kitchen, when indeed these taxes are already being taken. And so I find it difficult for this kind of attitude, which makes it look like anytime the president does something, it is new. This is not new. This has been happening. In fact, when the president raised the issue of opulence, the president, I'm sure, and indeed most Ghanaians, were focusing on tithing, or what did they call it?
Right.
That was the issue. Whether
we should tax
those ones,
tithes or not.
And I've heard religious leaders say that, look, when all students association pay their dues, it's not being taxed. I've heard religious leaders say that when political parties collect contributions, it's not being taxed. And they are saying that the tithe is their what? Dues. So if you want to tax our dues, Tax you yourself, your political parties, the contributions you receive. But to end it, this is not new, Mr. President. You've not achieved anything new. Churches who operate, there are churches that operate commercial vehicles. We see them. They're right. Methodists, what and what, also too. And if they are picking passengers, they pay. I've seen them pay, cut and collect tickets. They pay. It's nothing new. So nothing has been achieved. Forget about that.
I'm grateful. Let me welcome my second guest. Richard Asante-Yeboah is government spokesperson on infrastructure. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, my
and
brother.
thanks for your time. We're deliberating on the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, meeting between the president and the clergy yesterday. The story is that the clergy and government has agreed or have agreed to tax, and I want to quote precisely the Ghanaian Times, to tax the commercial aspects of activities of the various religious bodies. And that includes Muslims and perhaps African traditional religion, the Hindus and all that. The agreement is that already these churches, these mosques, these shrines or whatever, if they engage in any commercial activity, they are supposed to pay taxes. And so this is not anything new.
Thank you very much, Bright. I think I would like to say good morning to my good brother, Mr. Maniba, and your amazing viewers here. There's one particular point that I need us to sort of stretch on and also emphasize. We've known that there are a good number of laws in our status. There are a lot of laws out there. But how many of them do we follow in terms of its implementation? How many of them are we able to implement? There are tax laws, and there are laws as to how a commodity or an activity is taxable or not. We've known that over the period, the various religious institutions have made serious contributions to the development of these nations, i.e. educational institutions, hospitals, and some of them creating employment generation ventures that have helped alleviate stress and also poverty from a good number of the population. And that is a known fact, and they ought to be commended on that regard. But equally, we also know for a fact that there are a good number of faith-based institutions, because I don't want us to single out and call it churches, because there are other institutions that include the African traditional religion, the brother Muslims and the Christian community, who equally conduct activities aside what happens within the pulpit or within the confines of the church itself. That is in terms of worshiping God and other contributions that they make towards the development of the church itself. But things that you can call it business venture. We know there are churches that are producing mineral water. We know there are churches that are producing burn bricks and other economic activities that is generating income for the church. As far as the president's engagement with the religious leaders were concerned, I think the focus was also to seek for and also further ask for their support in terms of the double track system and the free SHS as being implemented by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Then as part of that discussion, the issue of these taxes came on board. And President's desire was to let them understand, because you see, some of the pastors have even gone on various social media platforms lambasting the President of the Republic and creating an impression that the President is saying that when they take their tithe, they should bring the tithe and government. And that has not been the situation. The argument has been, let's implement what we have in our tax laws. What does that say? It says that any economic activity that is being conducted by any Ghanaian or institution, we ought to make tax contributions to the state towards development of our country. And there was the need for those moments that these things can be explained to people, and also for us to rehash that point that we ought to obey those tax laws. So my brother Maniba's attitude that it was just to drink tea, and I mean, we've known over the period that various presidents have interacted with various church leaders and also even faith-based institutions. We know President Mills used to do that frequently. Former President Mahama was equally doing some arrangement like that. And this is not new. that the President of the Republic would call religious leaders and discuss with them issues concerning our national development, issues concerning how we can make progress. Remember when this issue of National Cathedral erupted? There have been divergent views that you listen and it's quite ridiculous, and some of the views you listen to the kind of argument that is being made, and you ask this sounds quite ludicrous to say the least. Because, my brother, we know that as a country, over the years, between the various religious institutions, we've been able to live peacefully among ourselves. Same cannot be said about Nigeria and other parts of the world. We've lived because we accommodate each other. We appreciate the contribution each religious institution is making towards the national development. You remember in 1995, former President Rawlings dedicated a piece of land around...
I wish we said we'll talk about this Hajj Cathedral thing. So I wish we would stay with the president so that we can...
So I think for
because Rachel, let me come in. You see, the issue is this. The law is clear. Commercial activities of churches are taxed under our laws. If for a reason we are unable to collect the tax, is it not the duty of the GRA, perhaps, to be up and doing? Because the story has put out there in the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times. If you read the caption in the Ghanaian Times, government clergy agreed to tax churches for commercial activities of religious bodies. It creates the impression that they were not paying taxes.
The new law that is being set up. Right. I get your angle, and I think
and he's suggesting that perhaps
sharing that sentiment that when there's a headline like that, it creates the impression that there's nothing in our tax laws that gives the states or mandates the states to tax commercial activities of the various religious
institutions. But the laws are there.
The laws are there. And in some of these discussions, what it does is that it further educate the individuals or new up and coming, or even those within the system who have forgotten about the fact that there's a sort of duty imposed on them by the laws of the land for them to make certain mega contribution towards the development of the state. So I think we continuously educate ourselves. It's not every now and then that you can go out there with whips in hand, whipping everybody in line. Sometimes you need to sort of talk to people, educate them, let them understand what ought to be done. Because the point is that already, like I did indicate, the various religious institutions are contributing immensely towards the development of this nation. And those efforts are being applauded on a given day. Remember, you see Catholic institutions, they have universities, Methodists, I think...
which I'm sure they're paying taxes.
ICGC,
the SDS,
all these
Pentecost,
institutions have been able to help the government by meeting the government halfway in terms of building infrastructure, building hospitals, creating other economic ventures that is helping create jobs for the good people of this country. And I think that these are the issues, and not that the president call people just to go and bring things with. I mean, it is good that you bring all these people together so we can forge ahead in unison. I mean, this business about drinking tea, I think that was far-fetched, and a point that I thought my brother was needed to push across.
When I arrived from South Africa this morning, and I see this heading, which says that churches agree with the government to pay taxes, I would say that, so in Ghana, churches
on their commercial
activities. I would say in Ghana, so the commercial activities of churches are not being taxed. Hey, then this president has done well. I am saying that this cannot be in the feather of the president. It is nothing new. And I'm saying that the various institutions that are mandated to collect the taxes have not indicated that churches refuse to pay taxes on their commercial activities. I have not heard GRA ever say that when they went to collect tax from any church, the church hid behind religious inclinations and said they won't pay. So what are we talking about? It is much ado about nothing this morning to be talking about what is already in existence. That's my point.
Okay, let's move on. Now, Daily Guide's page 17 says that hands of Hajj Cathedral, Komok to government. The coalition of Muslim organizations asks government to stop meddling in religious affairs as it is against the tenets of the 92 Constitution, which bars it from sponsoring or promoting religious activities. According to the group, there are other pertinent issues of more importance to Ghanaians than building a national cathedral and sponsoring Muslims on their annual Hajj pilgrimage. A statement signed by Sheikh Dr. Al Hussein Zakaria, who is the president of Komok, said that it was about time government handed over organizations of Hajj in the country to Ghanaian Muslims to handle. It particularly also criticized government for building or agreeing to build a multi-million and multi-purpose national cathedral as part of Ghana's 60th anniversary celebration. That's the story. Richard, here, Comog is suggesting that government should stay off religion and so hand over organization of Hajj to Muslims and stop building a national cathedral. What do you think?
I think I have three major difficulties with Comog release, because there are a lot of factual inaccuracies within that release, as you read to the hearing of all. And the first point that I want to make had to do with the fact that they said government is building a multi-million and purpose cathedral facility for the Christian community. That is not true. Government is not doing that. So right from the word go, we realize that the intention and what they want to communicate is skewed. The second point I would want to make is that, I mean, there have been a lot of assistance being given to various religious bodies across the country over the years. There are mosques, church buildings or churches and other religious institutions that have been built that those lands were given or donated by the state over the years. I was making a reference to what was done by His Excellency, the then sitting president, former President Rawlings, as far back as 1995, where he donated a piece of land on behalf of the state to the Muslim community to put together a national mosque around the Kanda area there. Flowing from that, President Kufuor came in and equally assisted and even laid the stone for them to begin construction. I remember when it got to President Mahama's era, President Mahama went further, donated over 1,000 bags of cement and assisted them through other resources and also facilitated the release of facilities from Turkey in making sure that they put together a befitting national mosque for our brothers Muslims just around here, which is almost or near completion. So you've seen the pattern that has happened over the period. The states have facilitated, assisted, provide leadership role in making sure that our Muslim brothers and sisters do have a befitting place of worship. We have not had problems with that.
Comog thinks we should stop.
I'm coming. Over the years, Hajj activities of our brothers and sisters Muslims are either being subsidized or partly being funded by government. And it has happened through various administrations, where government took charge and most of the times put together a team to manage the activities so that the people have a smooth sail, go in for the activities and come. Because if even people go on their own and they'll get out there and their mishaps and their difficulties, it is the duty of government to protect every single soul. So government will put in and make arrangements to bring these individuals back to their country safely and peacefully. We've seen people who have gone on their own rendezvous to other countries and they have gone through difficulties. We know of Libya, we know of other elsewhere, where Ghanaians were caught in between the devil and the blue sea. The government went through to assist.
These people,
what I'm saying is that at the moment, the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, it is not building a cathedral for the Christian community. What government is doing is providing a leadership role and equally providing a piece of land, like was done during 1995, that has made sure that our brothers, Muslims and sisters do have a befitting place of worship. So that this, in terms of raising funds, the various religious bodies, i.e. the Cali Bishop Conference, the Pentecostals, and the Methodists, and the Presby, and other religious bodies will do the fundraising by themselves and put together this edifice. We know
so
that
at least government is promoting it.
Government supports the idea. That is why government is providing a piece of land.
Now let's answer Kumok. Kumok is suggesting that all this that you have listed, from Mr. Rawlings' donation to Mr. Kufuor's laying of stones to Mr. Mohammed's 1,000 cement bags to what is happening now, Kumok thinks that government take your hands off. What do you think?
I find it difficult to understand and appreciate the angle from which they are coming. And one of the difficulties I do have is that I'm looking at even the timing. I mean, they saw nothing wrong and they could not put themselves together to issue a release in the moment when government or the state was putting in same arrangement to facilitate the construction of the national mosque for our brother Muslims. However, when it got to building of a cathedral where government is not donating cement, government is not doing many things but giving land, a piece of land, they do have issues with it and they are raising concerns.
Okay, let me read this to you.
These are some of the things that bothers my mind.
Rachel, let me read this to you. In the same story, this is according to the statement, and this is in quote, for more than a decade now, Kumok has continually insisted on the need for government to relinquish its stake in the organization of Hajj and allow Muslims to handle the pilgrimage as a purely private spiritual exercise. While efforts continue to achieve the goal, we were startled by the meddling of government in yet another religious endeavor, the construction of a cathedral. So the story is suggesting that it is not now that Kumok is saying.
I'm not sure.
According to the story, for more than a decade.
I've not heard of Kumok in any previous interactions making appeal to government.
Okay, so you don't believe them even when they tell you that they started long ago?
This is an afterthought to create the impression that some activities being ongoing. My point is, as a country, I do believe that if we all come to a consensus and say that government cannot give a piece of land to support some of these activities, because no government is giving land to countries to build embassies, high commissions. Government is facilitating foreign investors in terms of providing land as equity in putting together industries and other things. So I find it difficult for us for anybody to raise any issue with government giving a piece of land for about 70% of
Richard,
the good
if you can broaden the conversation and wrap up your thought for me. Broaden the conversation. Kumok is not simply talking about this land for cathedral. Kumok is saying that government hands off Hajj and any other religious activity, including building the national cathedral. It's not about just the piece of land. That's what I want your thought on to conclude this.
Right, you know the Hajj, our brothers and sisters Muslims just came back from the Hajj. Before they went, there was Kumok. Government had put together a team putting together the arrangement. Did you hear any statement from them?
They said they have done this.
No, I'm saying just recent past.
No.
You didn't hear anything from them. So that's where the difficulty is. Beyond that, what I want us to understand and appreciate is that what government is trying to do is to equally promote that good relationship among all the religious bodies within the country. And that is what we've done over the period. President inviting Muslims and all religious bodies together and having discussion with them. It goes to the fact that we appreciate the effort of every Tom, Dick and Harry within the system.
Richard,
and
I'm grateful.
That is being made to national development.
I'm grateful. Mr. Malbaso, a quick one. Reaction to what Kumok is saying. Hands off, both Hajj, building of national cathedral, whatever. Take your hands off. That's what Kumok is saying.
You see, my brother is fixated with the word government and has given it a narrow definition. So he thinks it's MPP government. But when you listen to what they have said, the use of the word government there is generic. Indeed, whether former President Rawlings, President Kufuor, Atem Mills, the late Miss Professor Mills, or former President Mahama, what Kumok is saying is that it was bad that time. His argument that why didn't they speak about it at that time is neither here nor there, because there's always a first time. There's always a first time. There's always a point that somebody will get up and say, never, and never, and never again. So you can't fault them for coming out now and asking questions, where were you? Probably when we look at their background, they may not have even existed at the time that he's talking about. So they have made a significant contribution to the national discourse. And this is not the first time people have said that government should not interfere in religious activity. This is not the first time. Because, you see, when you take our laws are not mosaic. Neither are they Arabic. Our laws are constitutional and statutory in nature. And we are a secular state. We are not ruled by monarchs or, if you want, religious organizations or leaders. It's a secular state. So when people are speaking this way, they are speaking this way having their minds fixated on the kind of state we operate. To be honest with you, do I have an answer to this? Bright, I have no answer because I have always tried to stay away from arguments relating to religion and ethnicity. Is it worth considering? Let those who have ears listen, and we'll move on.
It is not against the Constitution?
Like I indicated, because our laws...
It bars government from either promoting or engaging in religion. That's our Constitution.
In our laws, it talks about ensuring that all sectors of our economy or the people in the country must be treated fairly. Now, you've raised a question, and that's a good question. Are we going to have a national monastery for our cultural practices? You get what I mean?
Shrines.
Shrines. Are we going to have something like that? A national shrine? Because there are a large chunk of our people who are not churchgoers. They don't go to the mosque, but their main religion is the cultural
traditional religion.
So, and I know there are people in court already dealing with these matters and saying that government continues ferrying people to Mecca and also engaging in this. Apart from this, there was even another story of government trying to facilitate people to go to Israel.
Right.
You know that
during the insertion of this administration.
Exactly. So these are all
the
gamut of things. But you see, it is wrong for my brother to sit here and say that it's just land that government is providing. Land cannot be just.
I didn't say just.
Land cannot be just. Land is...
He says he didn't say just.
Okay, so he made it look like it was only land.
Right.
And I'm saying that land, that 14-acre prime land, he should go back, when he goes back to his office at the Flagstaff House, he should quantify how much that is. And
is it true that it's about the size of 8 football pitches?
14 acres. So that could be 14 acres, huge.
5,000 square.
So if you say that that prime land given to the churches to do what they are going to do, and you think that that is not government's contribution and it is not much, I think that you are missing the point.
Okay.
I also think that the religious leaders should also, I heard one of them, and I want to commend him, that yes, they are still bent on this cathedral, but if it means getting land somewhere, they will do so. That for me is progressive. Look at what they are doing. We have a president who is a lawyer and evicting judges. A president whose father was once a judge, evicting the judges,
he said
and breaking their houses, wanting to break their houses.
They are putting up new houses for them.
Is that how to protect the public purse?
Okay. Let's move to the final this morning. You want a reaction? Okay, quickly.
You know, that is why I make reference to what was done for our brothers Muslims when it came to the national mosque.
And Kumok says it is wrong, and the government is promoting.
That was the first time government was making such contribution at the national level. We know that at various instances.
But do you think it is right or wrong? Government promoting certain religion.
I don't think it is promoting certain religions.
It is not against our
Constitution. I don't think government is promoting certain
That
religions.
bars government from engaging or promoting religion.
When you want to look at the rightness and the wrongness of some of these issues, what we end up doing is not even discussing the issues at stake.
Okay.
But the issue is that as a country, this has been the kind of relationship that we cultivated over the period. That is why during Islamic holidays, as we do know, on the Islamic calendar, we all celebrate, both Christians and Muslims. Christmas, they also join us. We celebrate and we live together peacefully.
Should we give
no Christian raised an
brothers
issue.
and sisters a holiday
No
too?
Christian raised an issue when it came to government donating a land for the building of the National Mosque.
There's always a time for everything.
No Christian raised an issue no Christian raised an issue when President Mahama contributed over 1,000 bags of cement towards the construction of the National Mosque. No member of the country raised an issue.
So your point
when
is that
government made
because
effort in and facilitated the securing of funds from Turkey in putting together all these things. So sometimes when we come, we ought not to overstress some of these things. Let's understand, what is this government trying to do? The government is saying that I'm going to facilitate this process, I'm going to provide leadership. I'm equally providing a land and the religious bodies that have been put together as a trustee.
I think you've made
go
that
out
point.
there and solicit for funds, do fundraising, and put together this national criteria that would play a lot of roles beyond it being used for worshipping purposes. You could equally have, it will house a museum. There will be other offices. It will serve as tourist attraction center where it will attract revenue to the state. I think we ought to understand because government have equity in it because of the land government is contributing.
Yesterday, I had one made an argument that we can't even take care of Ebri Gardens here, and if it is continually reducing the number of people who visit there. And so it was asking, why do you want to set up another tourist attraction if you can't keep the ones that are already there in good shape to attract people?
I think this kind of arguments, though they are welcome, but they are neither here or there. Because the point is that, right, we have problem as a country in terms of cultural maintenance. We have rules that
shouldn't we fix it?
So we continue to make improvement as we go on. But you will not say that because there are roads that are deplorable in certain parts of the country, we ought not to put or construct new roads. What kind of analysis are you putting across? And that is a very weird analysis to say this from the person.
All right, I'm grateful. Let's look at the finder. This morning, Ghana National Petroleum Corporation rejects conflict of interest accusation. The GNPC has refuted media report that its chief executive authorized the transfer of $7.5 million to a company he once worked for in 2017 for payment of some residential facilities. Now, GNPC clarified that its residential apartments acquired in Takrady were done in a transparent manner, devoid of any conflict of interest. This is a developing story. The accusations or allegations are that Dr. Kike Sabon had worked in a company that he's dealing with at the moment as the CEO of the Petroleum Corporation. Mr. Aman, but this issue, GNPC says there's nothing like conflict of interest. What do you make of it?
Yes, I have read the statement emanating from GNPC, and I think that the GNPC is not being straightforward, truthful to the people of this country. I know that the defense for conflict of interest is to say that you disclose your interest or you recuse yourself at the time the decision was being taken. But I also know that there is what is called influence peddling. Because he's the CEO of the company, and the fact that those who are taking the decision to purchase the house know his connection with his previous employers, because he was a managing director for Global College. Because of that connection, which they are fully aware, you can cite him for influence peddling because he could have brought his influence to bear, even though he was not at the meeting that was being taken, or that was deciding whether to purchase or not to purchase. And so I think it's a bad story for GNPC. I was a board member there, and I know that when such stories come, your partners, GNPC has a lot of partners, they begin to question. your modus operandi and whether what you are doing is transparent. The questions I want to ask is, PPA, that's the procurement authority. Did they give the go-ahead for this to happen? The board, of which he's a part,
he's a member of the board.
Because as a CEO, he must be a member of the board. Did the board also okay these transactions? Their press release is talking about the work of the committee, that he did not partake in the work of the committee that was put together to search for the building. That's the least of my worries. The structures are there. And the structures provide that there's a board. Beyond that, there's this PPA, procurement authority. Now, what is their role in all this? The story as it is now will not die. The story as it is now smacks of influence peddling, and I think that they need to come back again. If not, some investigations must go in there, and I think the president must be interested, because the GMPC is like a cash cow. And if you don't put your lenses on it as a president, people will be there milking it. And some of these things are, if this were in advanced countries, the next day, KK Sapon should have been tendering his resignation.
Richard, the GMPC press statement that, I mean, there's nothing like what is in the media about conflict of interest.
I think I would want to applaud Ghanaian journalists, and in the same way would also want us to occasionally be a bit hesitant in terms of some of the reportage and some of the informations that are being churned out there. Because in most cases, you realize that what is put across to the general public are mostly not exactly the case. I followed this issue and also followed the GMPC press release that came out yesterday, and followed the kind of angle and the picture it gives to us. And the fact that the media is also trying to paint a different picture. But there's one thing that we want to understand. I will not want to be involved in media trials of anybody within the system, because the point is that it's unfair to do that. What I would want to do and ask that, did any part of our laws suffer any breach as a result of the execution of this whole commercial arrangement? Did the GMPC or the CEO, Mr. Keke's, Dr. Keke's Sample, did he breach any aspect of our procurement laws, our laws in terms of contracting some of these arrangements? Did he? And nobody has been able to prove to any of us that such a thing happened. The only thing that is being said is that he was a former worker in a particular company.
Influence peddling, is it not?
I mean, right. If we try to overstretch everything in this country, maybe a time will come when Mr. Maniba is in an office, I might not be able to even do any business in that particular office, because the point is that somebody, so beyond the fact that he knows him, they've been friends, they also sit on TV occasionally to discuss issues of national interest. And because of that, there was influence peddling, or because of that, it's mark of corruption. We cannot continue to do that. Are there facts, solid facts, consolidated evidence that can stand the test of time, that indicates that indeed there were breaches in terms of this whole arrangement? Are we being told that Mr. Keke Sapon unilaterally went ahead to do anything? We've read the release that says that because as a general plan of the His Excellency and also the MPP manifesto, trying to move the GMPC from Accra to Takoradi or to the Western region and its operations, the GMPC embarked on a plan to purchase property rather than continuous rental. Remember, during the President Mohammed's era, there were a lot of stories. Some of them, whether true or false, we do not know. I'm sure Mr. Maniba can ascertain whether they are false or true. Remember there was issues about GMPC renting a facility that was going to cost the nation $20 million. As to whether it was true, nobody knows. But this time around, we have been told that the GMPC did not say they're going to rent a facility. They were purchasing a facility. The arrangements went before the board. The board put together a committee, a board subcommittee, to investigate and also to check whether indeed there was value for money, whether it has gone through the various procedural arrangements that ought to follow in terms of our laws, whether PPA and other agencies that ought to have a bite or a say in this whole arrangement had done that. And it came back to the board that indeed all the needful had been done. So what ought to be done was for the property to be procured. And they did the purchase. So the issues about somebody thinking that they are influence peddling, there was this, I mean, we cannot overstress on these issues and try and hang innocent people who have toiled for the nation, toiled for the
I'm grateful. There are two properties. GMPC has rented a property of Global Haulage in Takoradi already.
Right, that's one.
It's a fact. Then now, this is a different property they are purchasing. And I find it difficult to understand why my friend who is in politics is uncomfortable with rules and regulations, saying that a time will come when we cannot operate. In fact, we are a country of laws. If you cannot abide by the laws, don't go into politics. Don't go into politics. It is not your business to sit here and say that. Time will come. Time will come.
Everybody is grateful for your time.
Time should come.
Is government spokesperson on infrastructure. But what about Maliba as a member of the NDC? We are grateful. Stay with us. We're back in a moment.
Well, now let's go to another interesting topic. And Captain Asamoah Gyan has organized a tournament to unearth talent at the Accra Academy, Sports Complex. Now, here with me in the studio this morning is Sami Enimado, who's CEO of Baby Jets Promotions, to talk a bit about what Asamoah Gyan is doing for youth football in the country. Sami, you're welcome.
Thank you, bro. What's up?
I'm very well. Now, Sami, tell us, when did this start, and how far are you hoping to go with this?
Wonderful. We started the competition on Monday. I can say we started the vision to the idea. We muted the idea about 2 years ago. We were looking at the right time to bring it, and then the timing was very important for us. Also needed to do some background check, try to involve the people, the stakeholders who are involved, the CAF technical committee. We got in touch with Coach Francis Utiakenten, who is a CAF instructor. And then also we started making contact with the clubs outside Ghana, because we wanted to give opportunity for clubs who are also outside Ghana, because Asamoah Gyan's brand is big, the name is big. If we want to do something of that nature, this case from all over Africa should get opportunity. So gradually we got to the day, and then we started a wonderful tournament. Everybody is impressed. Your colleagues are happy. I know almost everyone there. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the Almighty God's blessing, because if you look at the standards, the game the guys are playing, the enthusiasm, the way they are all ready to play competitively well and make sure their talents are seen, and the pictures, the video, the setup, everything is wonderful, and we just thank God for that and hope that things will keep going till final day on Saturday.
I mean, you spoke about different players from other African countries. How many countries are we looking at?
Yeah, we had Togo, we had Guinea, we had Cote d'Ivoire, we had Mali, we had Nigeria, and then Benin. But some of them were disqualified because we realized some of them were too big. That's the only setback we had. So, but we know that moving forward next year, we'll try and do the screening as early as possible, and maybe request from some MRI and other things so that we won't get those problems. But so far, we have the Guineans, the Benin, the Togolese, all competing with the Ghanaians.
So have you seen immense talent at the show and what you're doing? I mean, I read a story about one boy, I don't know his nickname, Messi, and he's all over the place. Everybody's talking about him at the moment. So you've seen him play. How good is that boy?
Wonderful talent, man. I only pray that the boy will keep going, and then we'll give him the guidance. That's why we organize this event. We are going to make sure we guide them the right way, because they have to get to the right club. Because they shouldn't go to a club where the expectations are too high, so that they can develop their talent, the right guidance, the mentoring, and then we'll make sure he becomes the Messi everybody is talking about. The boy has super talent. And then there's another boy called Gabriel Sampana, also another talent. another wonderful guy. There's one boy also from Dansuma, Barcelona, one from Atrams, Divisa, one from Cheetah, and then one from Mandela, and then one from New Life Academy. These boys are bad. Messi boy, if the reason why he's talked about because maybe because of the way he plays, and he's left-footed, fast, and when he gets the ball, you can't take it from him. Like the way Messi operates, and he scored 2 goals too. He won 2 man of the matches too. The Asampana boy too has scored about 4 goals, scoring from left, right, center, from Borga Soccer Masters. It's so wonderful. I'm so happy. We've not finished, but I'm so happy, and I hope that we will in the final it will be something explosive, and then the whole world will see what we're doing.
Let's look at the opportunities for these kids. What is at stake for them? A lot of the times these things are organized, then the kids get into trouble with agents, they get into trouble with foreign clubs and all of that. How are you looking to improve systems for them so that their talents can be realized?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. The tournament is going to have a dream team. That's why we have the coaches. You can have we've had all these coaches you've seen in the TV: Otia Kenten, Osei Kofi, Uli Kruche, Ibrahim Sande, Siki Akono, Stephen Apia. Everybody passing through Lai Kingston. We are going to form the dream team. Then we'll use the dream team to go. We'll take them. We'll give them a program from now, and then early next year to mid next year, we'll take them to a tournament where they are going to justify themselves and play in Europe and play with the big teams in Europe. Then the overall best player will also have a sponsored package from Kumi Designs, the people who design my jackets.
I was going to ask you about it. I mean, it looks very good on you, and the way it's designed and all of that.
So they are going to sponsor the overall best player to Turkey, to Europe, to go and justify himself with clubs. And then apart from that, the dream team will give them a program. They will go back to wherever. We have an agreement with them, like you said. We'll give them the right guidance. You are a young boy, you are coming up. You need to go to the right clubs. Some countries, when you go there, it's affected some of our players. You won't get a chance to play. We'll take you to countries like Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, Spain, countries where you can get a chance to play as a young player.
You can consolidate your talents.
Yes, so that we also make sure you are on the right path. And then we'll make sure you get the right agents who are also going to be there. We partner them. So there's an agreement with the clubs, and we'll make sure that is fair. Because if I saw Asamoah at the age of 14 playing for Great Cedars in Dansoman, Karikari Park, and today Asamoah is a superstar to that level, I know what it takes to get a superstar to that level. And I'll make sure these boys will create more superstars for Ghana.
Well, certainly. I know Asamoah is capable of it, and yourself as well. But let's focus a bit. Let's go to the boxing night. I saw a flyer yesterday. It says Asamoah's boxing night is coming back somewhere in October. Just take us to it before we end the interview.
Yeah, we're looking at 20th October. Game Boy is going to come back to start again from WBO Africa because we realized we wanted to move away from the IBU. So he's going to fight WBO Africa with Paulos Moses, who just fought a world title and lost. And then we are going to introduce some new boys. We've signed a new boy called Lai. That boy is another wonderful chap who is fighting undercard in the featherweight division. He's being coached by Carluco. And then we introduce. We are also looking at Basti Sameh. We are looking at getting an agreement with him. And then we're looking at other young chaps that we've seen around. We've also introduced some young chaps, some juvenile chaps. We give them some packages from Asamoah Foundation, and those young chaps will also be giving some guidance. So come 20th October. At the Bukum Boxing Arena, we are going to set up the first of Asamoah Boxing Night.
Sammy, we'll be there to support.
Thank you for your support, guys. Thank you very much.
So you just heard from Sammy Inimado, who's CEO of Baby Jet Promotions. Now you should be at the Accra Academy, Sporting Center to try to watch, some very impressive talents there on the pitch. Is the Asamoah or Baby Jet Under-16 tournament happening there? It started on Monday. It is ending on Saturday. My name is Yao Ofosulabi, and that's how we end the sports segment here on New Day. We'll be back with some more sports stories on Midday Live.
Welcome back. My guest is a former Minister for Finance and Economic Planning in the erstwhile John Mahama administration. Mr. Seth Terkper is here. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You look resplendent this morning.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
I've been well, and good morning to your viewers and to your listeners.
What does it feel like not to be in charge of the economy? Watching from, the back.
Well, in the first place, I think that you take it with grace because it's service to the economy. as to Ghanaians generally. It is an honor to occupy a position like that, and you give it, your best. And when you leave office, you allow some space, you allow time for yourself, and then you move on. And obviously, you cannot be completely detached from following developments in the economy, especially from my perspective, where we implemented quite a number of initiatives, from Exim Bank Infrastructure Fund to so many of the, gift meals and all those reforms as part of the Ghana's middle income, agenda, because we have become middle income.
Right.
It's not something we can wish away. So my view has been, whilst in office and with luckily support of His Excellency President, ex-President Mahama.
Right.
And before then, actually we did start, many of them under Professor Mills. When I was a deputy, gift miss, for example.
Right.
So, so you observe and you would hope that some of the structural and institutional things that were put in place would continue.
Right.
And not be truncated, as we often do in Africa and many, developing countries.
This conversation is live also on our sister stations 3FM 92.7 and Onia 95.1 FM. So if you're checking out of your home right now, you can tune in to 3FM 92.7 and Onia 95.1 FM. Mr. Chukbe, so if I ask you to run a fair assessment or honest assessment of the Akufo-Addo-led government 2 years down the lane in terms of managing the economy, what would your assessment be?
I would say my viewpoint, is is that I would expect the economy to be doing much, better. And I say this with some modesty because every economy has, challenges.
Right.
And I do not want to rule out the fact that, every government faces challenges. But my reason for saying that is, first of all, we managed, or I managed together with my boss, an economy against the background of further global downturn. That is changing. So globally, emerging market demand, particularly China, Brazil, and India, which pulled the economies down.
Right.
We also faced 2.5 years of disruption in gas supply. I always say that now that we have time to reflect, Ghanaians would know that it is not something that could have been resolved with a magic wand, because it involves a subsea pipeline. Nonetheless, it affected the economy. The power outages affected output. Demand became very, sluggish. The positive aspect was Jubilee then came on board, and with an average of about 70,000 barrels per day, prices were fairly good. But then we set up the PRMA and the various structures. But 2015, 2016, I had an unpleasant duty in an election year to go to Parliament 2 successive years to trim the budget because of the fall in crude oil and other commodity prices. If you fast forward, many of these things are changing. And we had said when we were leaving, my last media brief was prospects for the economy, that Ghana was going to rebound on account of support that we gave to private sector, in particular for the partial risk guarantee, World Bank, for Sankofa to come on stream, and for Tenfield to come on stream. As I said earlier, global economy is turning to the positive. And there were challenges in some areas for which we also created, the facility for resolving them. The first one being in the state-owned enterprises debt, which was weighing on their suppliers and on the banking sector. You would recall, and people forget, that we did the ESLA.
We'll come to all that detail. I'm asking you to run an assessment of the Akufo-Addo-led government in terms of managing the economy.
Well, that's what I said.
If you were to mark their script as an examiner, how much would you score them?
I do teach, but I do not. Let me again just be, modest again at this point and leave my assessment as saying that what I would have expected, was something better. And I had already indicated back in 2017 that some of the programs were over-ambitious or a bit ambitious, and they couldn't be sustained fiscally.
Right.
And we can have a discussion.
We'll have a discussion on that one. Yeah. They called you incompetent while you were in the saddle, and so I'm asking again, if you look at the currencies that are trading against the cedi, it's not, the cedi is not looking too good. You look at other sectors, and you have said they are not looking too good, which is why I'm asking you about the assessment. Perhaps you don't want to assess, but we can move on if you don't want to run an assessment.
Well, Ghanaians are doing their own assessment. And
you as a former finance minister.
I have done an assessment, and that's the point I'm making. I'm saying that I would have expected the economy to perform
which
much better.
Sectors are you looking, for example, at?
I would say overall, but to be specific, the recovery in crude oil prices and the fact that we are getting additional, crude oil from Tenfield and from Sankofa, which had come ahead of schedule, which means right in the year, of takeover, they had additional, resources. Contrary to the impression being given, I was going to mention ESLA, for example, which from the, their own ESLA, report is bringing in close to 2 billion, actually above 2 billion annually, taking the 2 years, 2016 and 2017, which overflew into 2017, there were flows of over 3 billion in just the two specific areas, which is the energy debt service, which is to resolve the banking difficulties, and then the enhanced road levy, which also brought in a handsome 900 million and 1 point something billion. So with these resources and with the rebound growth which we had predicted and everything, I think growth, for example, in the non-oil sector, because of lack of investment, a lot going into consumption, is not doing as well. So these are specific areas which I would have, expected, that performance would be.
Is the government on course?
I would say there are disturbing signs.
For example?
For example, I did a publication on payments of arrears, and I sought to show, that if you take from 2000, and I went that far back because I didn't want to be partisan about it.
Right.
So if you take from 2000, for both NDC and NPP, 2016 was a year in which, they increased the arrears, in quotes, by 7 billion. And
you challenged that figure?
I did, yes. And they portrayed it as having been cleared. But when you check the fiscal tables, it was just an offset.
You mentioned 2 million, they mentioned 7 million. They stick by the 7 million.
Actually, I didn't mention a figure.
Okay.
What I was saying was they mentioned 11 billion at one point.
Okay.
And then 7 billion, which was the first figure that came out. The New Year School, they mentioned a revised 3 point something billion.
Right.
Auditor General also came out. And so I sought to explain, because I know the background. If you permit me for a few minutes, what I sought to do was to explain.
Okay.
Because I was the architect of those numbers. Absolutely. First of all, the first point I made was those numbers came from the budget guideline for 2017. And the budget for 2017 preparation started in 2016, which I signed. And I required all ministries to give us data on the amount that they are owing, which hasn't come to the Ministry of Finance yet. Right. The contract sum is 11 billion. The contract in the system, which by nature overlaps fiscal years, and for which reason we have something called the medium-term expenditure framework, because you monitor them on the 3 years, it's 11 billion. The 7 billion is close to work done, but which is yet to be processed to come to the Ministry of Finance. And the 3 billion is closer to what we normally call arrears. And that is work done, brought to the ministry, which had not been paid, in the last 3 to 6 months. We have a very narrow definition of arrears, but as an accountant, for me, a liability goes beyond just what is in my ministry. And so under the gift miss, we were doing that for the first time too. So that was so for them to portray it as arrears meant that, yes, you can paint me as having left so much, but then you have to pay the following year.
In 2015, you took the Republic of Ghana to the IMF. The plan was 2014. The plan was to end by 2017. And in 2017, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta and his team pushed it on to 2018. The issue...
No, they didn't push it on. Actually, it became effective.
It became effective.
Yes, so if you count, when the board, approved it, it's April, and that's why it overlaps into 2018.
You're asking the government to hasten slowly in trying to move away from the IMF because you're mentioning countries like Rwanda and Kenya and other middle-income countries.
Yeah, I see you've been doing some reading.
I do a lot of reading. We love to read.
Which is good, yes.
That have used that particular thing. But the private sector believes that the IMF has become an albatross on their necks because government is not spending enough to expand the economy. Do you still stand by your assertion not to move away from the IMF?
I do, and let me, in the interest of disclosure, let me say that I worked in the IMF.
Right.
For close to a decade. I'm not in the area department which does the missions, but in the fiscal affairs department which goes on missions with them. So I don't want to what I'm saying because I went to the IMF as a mature, what they call mid-career. I had worked in Ghana. My last assignment before joining the fund was VAT coordinator for the introduction of VAT. My reason for the caution is one, the IMF is lender of last resort, what you call lender of last resort to developing countries.
Okay.
Just as the central bank is the lender of last resort to domestic banks, which is in play now. And so when your economy goes into a downturn, which inevitably happens, when cocoa prices fall, you always see that we have our economy shakes. We lack foreign exchange supply, as a result of which various aspects of the economy begins to. Then for developing countries, the global institution that you can fall to immediately is the IMF. Now, even the second reason is there are other institutions and development partners on which you can fall for assistance when you're in a downturn. The World Bank, African Development Bank, development partners like DFID, KFW, and the rest. But the fact is they also take a signal from the IMF. So the IMF program becomes very key as a condition. And one of the things we faced in 2014 was, the fact that they were taking that signal.
The World Bank has been singing the president, the government's praise.
Well, let me come to, let me just finish this thought, if you may, and I'll try to be snappy with it. The other group that takes a signal from the IMF are the markets, the capital markets. When you are in the capital markets, and Ghana is now active in the capital market, we just took off the 2017 bond last year. That's the 2007 bond. Luckily, by the sinking fund and other things that we established there, and the refinancing which the World Bank guaranteed. So you see how important it is. They also would want to see what the IMF says, about your economy. My other point of caution is that you cannot leave the IMF unless you cannot leave IMF surveillance unless you cease to become a member of the IMF.
Even if the private sector thinks it's not helpful?
Well, I'm saying, I'm coming to this, so I'm pointing out why the private sector,
why we can't,
why they must be, careful in making, or anybody has to be careful. So I'm saying that by virtue of being a member of the IMF, you are obliged under Article 4 of the IMF to open your books anyway to the IMF. And so whether you have a program, which is a special one they do when you have a problem with the economy, and when you open your books and they come in and say things are going wrong, you would have to open those books anyway. The difference is when they do Article 4, they are not helping you with any facility. Okay.
They're just checking.
They're just checking. And they report it. They are obliged to report it. Okay. So if you are in a downturn and you are not sure that you will get help from elsewhere, then you must be careful. Now there's a middle road, and that's where I talk about Kenya, you know, and other countries, called the policy support instrument, PSI, where you enter into an agreement with a fund about certain aspects of your economy which they watch, which is also the Article 4 or the program. But you don't take a facility from them. So it's your program, they help you draw it together with World Bank and African Development Bank. And jointly with Article 4, they do an assessment to the markets. So the point I was making is, can we take that step as an interim step to winning ourselves of IMF programs?
And what's your timeline for this?
My timeline is within the fact that, one, we have become a middle-income country, and two, by virtue of Sankofa, Tenfield, and hopefully other oil finds, Ghana will remain a middle-income country. So within 3 to 5 years, we should be able to harness those resources, right, through the stabilization fund, so that when things are good, you establish the fund which we established to support the budget. Within 5 years and with more output, you are able, to build that fund solidly. You build another fund for borrowing and paying. You don't borrow and then you don't pay, like we did with the 2007 bond. When you borrow, you must pay. And that's why we set up the sinking fund, and we're able to demonstrate that with our own oil revenue, we can pay, we could not complain.
So until 2023, what should the private sector be doing? Because they are complaining that government is not spending. There's a cap on, say, public sector employments. There's a cap on some other things. And that's affecting them.
No, the public sector employment is not private. I think let's get
No, it's true, but they say there's a cap. If you look at the bank, I wish we'll get into the bank's issue right now. The unemployment rate is growing, is multiplying. Per the IMF rules, there's a cap on public sector employment, which means that the private sector would have to absorb some more. They say the government is not spending because of the IMF program, so it's not expanding the economy for them to benefit.
Well, but that's why I said that we are not in the situation where we had, output going down because of Doomsaw, and that has been done. We know America.
So you expect the economy to perform better?
But so the question is, if you have all these revenues flowing in, what is going on?
What do you see?
I have said it. It means that much of the expenditure is going to consumption, right? And I said, for example, that let me take one specific example, the most popular one, free SHS.
Free SHS.
Yeah.
You went to Parliament in 2014, and in the budget statement for 2015 announced that you're going to do a progressively free, which based on you were going to construct 200-day secondary schools. By the close of your tenure, you weren't able to construct the schools. What's your difficulty?
Yeah, we were not. Yeah, because my president came out and told Ghanaians that
and you went to Parliament to endorse it.
Yes, yes, and the reason is this: we were being open with Ghanaians, right? We were being open and saying crude oil prices have fallen, right? Not much money is going to get fund because the economy has slowed down, and it's an election year. We've been very open, right? And I believe that Ghanaians believe that. We were saying that the alternative to saying we will definitely do 200 is to take resources away from other sectors of the economy.
The current government is not being open about free SHS?
I would leave that where they keep saying that they are open, but the fiscal numbers will show. For example, I demonstrated, I don't have the one, that out of, and I can't remember the numbers precisely, but out of 300 and something, close to 200 and something million of oil revenues is going into education, not infrastructure.
Right.
But into recurrent expenditure. And it's in the 2017 and 2018 budget. And so that tells you, but we were then using those resources to build the infrastructure. And the second reason for doing that is progressively is to take the schools. I believe that you've traveled or something, you have exposure, I assume. And when you go to advanced countries, what they have is senior high school with quality education in communities.
So those who can't afford, what do they do?
Yeah, you take day schools to them to get that education, right? But you don't, and you target it. You target those who cannot afford. You don't include those who can afford. That is building a progressive, and our tax system is a lot. Those who can, every economy in the world, those who are well off, even if you were poor to begin with, and the nation puts resources into your education, you are supposed to by virtue of being a bit more fortunate, contribute more. So the point is, you know, why exclude those who are capable, you know, of paying from the boarding and everything, right? Targeted, and that's the targeting that
that you've been talking about.
Exactly.
The World Bank has been singing the praise of the finance minister and the government of the day. You say the IMF takes a cue from these people. The IMF's one of the conditionalities was as to our fiscal discipline. Do you see fiscal discipline? You've talked about free SGS funding. Do you see fiscal discipline in this?
When you talk about, I'll talk about fiscal performance.
But you don't see the discipline. It was one of the key issues that were mentioned against you.
No, I'm not. You know, I'm not going to. Well, we had fiscal discipline. You know, the point is that there's a point at which you were just raising the issue of employment of the public sector.
Right.
My crude oil prices are going down. Right. There are 2 points to make about that. First, my crude oil prices are going down. You know, whatever. What would the private sector have done?
Okay.
Yeah, they will lay off workers. Right. Government is the largest employer. Government will worsen the unemployment situation. So you take a 2 to 3 year view of the economy, and you know you are going to recover. So you endure a certain minimum amount of deficit to save jobs. And then when the economy comes, so you retain what you have, and then when the economy rebounds and the public sector itself expands, including government, then you recruit more. Right. You know, the second point I'm making is, you know, it is not whether the fund is telling us to do something or not. And that is what it means to do a homegrown policy. Remember, we started a homegrown, having become a middle-income country.
Right.
And part of my caution is from the fact that we were doing a homegrown policy along the lines of a PSI. And then we got hit by the 2.5 years of crude oil, lack of crude oil supply, you know, the commodity crisis and whatever. And we needed an institution to support the city.
Is the free SHS policy sustainable as you see it now?
I think I've already said.
I want to know from you, based on the fact that the government remains adamant, it says it will go ahead with it, especially with the double track system.
Yeah, what I would do, right? I came out. I was, you know, to a sense isolated in 2017, and said, from the economy that I know and from the recoveries and things that we are going to do, despite, you know, additional crude oil and all that, I thought that it was not sustainable.
What would accepted government have done?
No, let me just 2 minutes. Then I also came, you know, again, 2018 budget. Look at the numbers, as I was just telling you, and seeing where the resources are coming from. They are not coming from additional revenue. They are not coming from not borrowing. They are coming from borrowing, right? And they are coming from capping, you know, capping areas of priority and using those resources into free. So on the basis of that, so what I want to say is that I do my assessment based on the numbers. So I wait till 2018 budget.
What would you have done differently if you had to start?
No, we had an option, progressively free education.
Free study.
Yes, and that is the only reason my president could also have said we can also do free education.
5 banks have been consolidated into one. The UT Capital Bank issue is there. The dust is yet to settle. We're told that you uncovered a lot of these rods. In fact, the current government says that most of them happened under your watch, and that you are to blame partly for what is happening. Do you take the blame?
We take responsibility, not the blame. You can do the blame game. And let me read from the ESLA report. Let's go back to ESLA. To ensure the achievement of Ghana's aspiration of having energy security as well as becoming the energy hub. Sorry, I don't want to read, you know, too long. But yes. The utilization of the process of the ESLA. Let me just, you know, and this is the government's own report, by the way. It's not mine, which acknowledged that we had put a mechanism in place, and we had actually started that mechanism to alleviate, you know, part of the, you know, the. I believe that you would recall. I think that sometimes after a short period, you know, we tend to. So if you look at the report, which was, you know, prepared, you know, by the, it acknowledged what we were doing. It says that The goal was to restructure VRA's legacy debt, which had been a major impediment to the smooth operation of VRA's business. Then it goes on to say the debt overhang had also exposed the banking sector to the possibility of systemic risk, as the magnitude of the exposure weighed heavily on the asset, quality, of the banks. Then it goes on to say that the agreement which was done, which we did in 2016, embodied the following: a restructuring of the CD component of VRA's debt in the amount of 765 million, a restructuring of US dollar component, which we did at 8.5% anyway, 357 million US dollars. The first one is CDs, and then repayment is over 5 years, a 5-year tenure, and quarterly installments ending April 2021. And then at the end of December 2016, 2 quarterly installments totaling 228.82 million had been paid. It's saying by the end of December 2016.
Right.
So it's not true to say that we didn't do anything. Right, to begin with. Secondly,
you say you take responsibility, not blame.
Yeah, we and responsibility, and we took action. So I'm pointing to the action now.
They said that some people brought false documentation under your watch.
No, that's
lack of management.
Let's
lack of supervision.
That's a second aspect.
Okay.
The first aspect is the debt of contractors,
Absolutely.
the debt of SOEs, which is affecting the banks. That's a critical aspect.
Which is sinking the banks.
We're sinking them, yes. What did we do? We put in place the ESLA. We went to and all this came from the ESLA, 282. As at January between January and December 2017, ESLA for the energy debt component had brought in resources of 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. The road fund and hand roads fund element had brought in 1.3 billion. Just the two, those were targeted towards resolving arrears.
Okay. So why didn't they resolve it?
I think the question should go there, because beyond this one, right, we left a term sheet, for a second aspect, because you can see that the flows are healthy. We used 220 to do a restructuring of so much, over $1 billion. I think 2 billion actually in CDs at the time, to do this. So now, first of all, this was restructured and refinanced. It was extended from 3 to 5 year tenure to 10 years. That's the bond that was done. So if you have resources coming in, even the energy sector levy alone at 1.4 billion, you can extend it to 10 years. So my point is that, we started a solution, and there is enough money coming in. So there was a delay for a year. The situation worsened and is there, And
let's talk briefly about because we're run out of time, we have to go. The falsification of documents, people who were not qualified, who were there, lack of supervision, lack of, watching over the banks, so they went the wrong direction. You see some of it happened under your watch. What do you say to that?
Under my watch in the overall, management of events. But I believe you were also privy to the debate, a very intense one, which was IMF condition, about how government was to lay off arm's length and allow autonomy to the central bank. Right? That doesn't absorb us of, but I think that it is probably time again to revisit that issue, because what I know also is that, and mind you, it's not just governors or ministers who work at the Bank of Ghana.
Absolutely.
There are other people who also work there who may have different motives, and who know. So the IMF did an audit. We also did some audits for 12 of the SOE and saw the impact. But what I'm saying is that should you have a central bank beyond anybody's oversight in the constitutionally? Probably we need to
look at it.
To look at that, just like the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, and others. Don't come to the Minister for Finance. Because there could be interference. Right. They go to Parliament.
They go to
the Finance Committee. Yes. Go to the Finance Committee.
The multiplier effect, a ripple effect of these banks being consolidated. People are losing their jobs, and we don't know where they're going to get alternative livelihoods. Do you feel again responsible for that?
If I didn't feel responsible, I wouldn't go in an election year or close to an election year to ask for a levy to save jobs. And we did this restructuring with 11 banks. I believe 13.
Right.
Some of which are included in, the folding.
Right.
Could a similar structure early in 2017, based on both the energy fund and the road levy, because the largest component of arrears, which is owed to contractors who owe banks, right, is the road arrears. So could a similar restructuring early enough have saved this, the situation?
You tell me.
I believe so, because when we did it, one, there wasn't a lot of noise. Two, there wasn't, fear and panic, and we were very open with it. But we were open and said, this is the solution. I mean, to the credit of the central bank and to the government, they did a 10-year bond. What I was saying is that, yeah, there was some delay in doing it. The markets were...
Do you have regrets for the delays and all of that?
Of course, if you have been in my position, as far as employment, after as a, because I would have wished for a stronger economy. As I said, we invested.
Did Sekpe fail as finance minister?
No.
You didn't fail?
No. And the evidence is there that most of the... One, I managed during a crisis.
Okay.
And I don't want to be praising myself, but let me give you one example. Ghana, despite the small size of its economy, did not go into recession. Remember, during my time, a number of African countries with far more resources than Ghana went into recession, based on some of the points. Two, we set up, a second evidence, we set up the sinking fund. We used 550 million, around 500 million of our own oil revenue to take off bonds that were issued and were paying only interest, right? We could have, given the problems that we have, we could have defaulted, right? Given the fact that we needed resources, we could have channeled those resources into consumption. But you balance the economy against investment, against whatever. Those structures are still in place. As we speak, I have it on authority. My calculation is that the sinking fund should accumulate about 600 million by now, which could, substantial. It's going to take,
So you didn't fail?
I don't believe that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sekpe. Is Ken Ofori-Atta failing? Is he passing?
I leave that judgment to Ghanaians.
No, you tell me. You're watching. You're asking questions.
I do leave that judgment to Ghanaians because I do not, as I said, I have to wait for major government budget statements to make an assessment.
He wants a voluntary fund, for example, to fund free SHS.
Well, I made that point. It's not coming. And so that is why now we are looking, and they said they were going to take off the taxes, which I did. ESLA is intact. The temporary taxes, not all of them have been taken off. Even today there was an announcement of a levy, backdoor, on importation of, electronics and things.
Mr. Sekpe, thank you very much. We could go on and on and on, but that's my guess. And we've been live on 3FM 92.7 and on 95.1 FM. Stay with us here on TV3 New Day. There's more coming your way. Say Mano Day. That's the newest banger in town. Happy birthday to you, Dora Abena Dia of Moga 1996 from Babina Finwaga, and to Reverend Benedicta Dodd is from Harriet Asumda in the HMI choir. And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. I've been joined by Ketri Kwame Fosu, KK Fosu, you know him. What's up? You don't stop. You never stop, man. That's a new one.
That's a new banger.
Sweet.
Thanks.
How have you been, bro?
KK is still around. We've been traveling outside and then we're coming back. We're chilling.
You haven't changed pretty much.
No.
Why? What's the secret?
Me about 10. I take good care of myself, and never be I'm sure I wouldn't go well with my body. I don't take them.
Things like what?
Check the way you eat. Check the way you drink. Anything you do, we need to check it.
Does KK Fosu drink?
Little.
A little?
Sometimes.
Okay. Occasionally?
You know what I mean?
Okay. But what don't you... So you don't eat, for example, after, say, 10 p.m.?
I eat.
Okay.
But I know the way I go with... I eat somewhere late in the night.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And myself, I'm that type. That is how the diet is. So, very skinny.
So you keep to it. The last time you spoke in June, you said that you started smoking weed in 2004. Have you stopped?
Yeah, what I was trying to say is, the host asked me, when did I start it?
Okay.
And I said, like when I started doing those things, I was like, that was when we started, somewhere 2004, coming and stuff. But we don't do it no more.
You stopped smoking weed.
Oh, pass is go. And then some people, like some bloggers, will go and then quote that part, which is very, very bad. But it's normal.
It's normal.
It's part of the game. So
how does it feel to have bounced back, literally? Because you went, you hid yourself a little and you bounced back. How does it feel like?
So great. I'm even shocked. I never knew people love KK Fosu to do that much. Being an artist and then you will go silent for over 10 years or almost 10 years with no hot music, and then people will start hailing you when you're on stage, even playing the old song. They prefer playing the old song, requesting the old song, and when they see you, the way they appreciate me, bouncing back. I mean, how the DJs are playing the songs, how my fans are relating to the songs. I'm so great.
The fans are relating to the songs, the DJ are playing them. Are you getting the shows?
Yeah, we just started it for the new tracks, but I've been playing shows for a while. I've been playing shows on
the big stages.
Yeah. I think the last big stage we mounted was with Amachi Dede. That was the December in Kumasi with Bisake Day.
But December, I guess it's a very long time.
Yeah, I've been playing. I went to Sunyani. I've been playing with Adonko shows. I went to Boga. Been playing, but you know, KK Fosu is not that type of artist who will come out anything. We got them, but we're trying to package ourselves well before the world will know us.
Do you still have your stamina on stage? Your stamina, your strength on stage, the KK Fosu
it's
active.
It's more than the first. Even I was even shocked when yesterday OKFM called me to come to an interview. And when I went, it was live band thing without rehearsing with the band. And it was marvelous. And you can see on their social media.
You just did your stuff.
We got the talent. It's the talent. And I always see music as my hobby. I don't see music as a career. I have my career.
What's your career?
I would love to be a football manager in future. Or music.
But what do you do now aside music?
Aside music, so many things.
What, for example? Give me top 3.
We don't say them. We're doing businesses. Now I'm with records.
You're sounding like Starboy Quating. He says he's a businessman, but he can't say what business he does.
Oh, come on. You know what I mean? We are hustlers on the street, and we
You do pa.
No, I don't do pa. But when it comes to critical, we have a way of getting what we will have.
Like
to
what?
feed the
There are
family,
some of your fans who are looking for a way to survive.
No,
show them love.
Let them see me. I'll become one of the greatest football manager in Ghana here one day, and I'll be one of the richest in football.
Are you working towards that?
Yeah, I've been working since. That was what exactly I was about to do. Football administration. And that is what I'm working towards now. So people should watch out.
I see.
It's not something that you can say it's not TV so and radio so I can't. No, it's something that we've been doing. I do miniature little boys and stuff. And now I'm working with World Map Records, which we are into estate building. If you need land, houses and stuff, just Google World Map.
I see. You're multi artist.
That's what I'm talking about. Plenty things.
So you have a lot of cash.
We are managing.
Why don't we see KK Fosu then, if you have a lot of cash, do a lot of charity work?
Yeah, we do. We've been doing that. You see, when you're doing your charity things, you don't need to come to the radio, TVs and do that. God doesn't want that.
People say that to cover up stuff. They don't do anything, but he said, well, if you give, don't tell anybody.
No, that is me. If I do, we don't do that. We've been helping so many people. World Map has been paying people school fees. I mean, we're giving people, scholarship and stuff. So there's so many things. We don't want to say it.
Let's talk about love. Your love life. How is it now? Is it still firm, strong?
Very, very powerful.
Unwavering.
I have a strong woman, strong wife behind me, which I'm so grateful to my Lord. And I love her so much. And she's been keeping me to this far.
When are we having a KK Fosu show? your own show.
Very
soon. Mount a stage.
Very soon, I think.
Because if you mention artists, you mention Nate Castro, we mention Nana Kwame. Those were your contemporaries. They all mounted their own shows. I don't see your show.
It's true. It's true. I think we are now putting things together. And at those times, KK used to be living abroad and stuff most. But now, as you can see, I'm here more. And now I'm signed on to a new record label, World Map Records. And right now, KK Fosu is about to hit his own concert. So watch out for the I'm Back concert. Very, very soon, pretty soon.
Are you happy with your management now? You fell out with your old management. Are you happy with your new management now?
For sure, and they are working so hard. I mean, as an artist, you need to get a good management that will think of you, sleep, eat of you, do everything with you. Think about your future, making sure they are promoting you to where you're supposed to. Not a management that they will be thinking of their pocket and their stomachs. So I think I'm okay with
how did you launch this deal? Did you hit this deal?
It's by the grace. I'm even shocked. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder how people call, like, oh, the carrier sound to me to Nyumbium. It's like people will be that naive and then thinking and all of a sudden the record label, somebody from nowhere will come and say, no, we believe in your talent. You got it. So do it. Papa. We are coming.
What do you say to those who think that your career is dipping, you've gotten to the point of equilibrium, now you are slipping, and try as you have done, brought up singles, it's still not firing?
They are funny. What I thank God of my life is I still got the voice, I got the swag, I can do the live band.
You got the girls too?
Most of the girls are mine. You know what I mean? I love women, but that doesn't mean I've been.
Are you a womanizer?
No, but I love women. Okay. I don't play when it comes to.
So you have a side chick?
It's normal. It's normal. You're trying to push.
So you said the side chick is normal.
It's normal.
How many do you have? How many side chicks do you have?
No, I don't do that.
You just have one side chick?
Maybe.
Okay. No, your wife is not watching.
No, she's watching. She's watching. So you know what I mean. So we got it, and you know what I mean. You see, we can't be on top forever.
Okay.
And KK Fosu, I'm that type of. I value my talent very well, and anything I write, I make sure it's clean.
Okay.
I don't watch on what people do, like forcing themselves to be hit. No. I know what is in me. So
you're doing pure high life music.
It's mixed. We're blending the high life.
Okay,
it's
high life with
high life.
Afro.
You know, people know KK Fosu with high life and the hip life thing. So we're mixing it, getting there.
What do you make of those artists who we don't see KK Fosu doing a lot of controversies? Those artists who are doing controversies, like Shatawale will do a lot of controversies, like One Love Kobola will do a lot of controversies, and they are up there in the trends. You don't do controversies. Why?
You see,
you have not seen the light.
No. I started those things after when you listen to controversial songs, you will count. Now, through me, you make organ to it, and that was the most beggar hit of the whole Ghana. Nobody has done any controversial song than that song. Vocabulary, you understand, and then a lot of. Was so I say, like when you listen to through me you make you know what I mean.
If you had to advise Shatawale on controversies, what would you say to him?
No, you see, Shatawale is a reggae artist. He's not a high life artist.
You don't have an advice for Shatawale on controversies?
It's part of the game. Sometimes it makes us loud, but I don't say we should make it to like a beef on lyrics in music is cool. But to take it personal, to attack on the street, firing or gunning ourselves there, I don't think is good. And I don't think he will do that.
Okay.
But that's him. He's a reggae artist, so you know reggae artists.
I think I did Davido shooting in the air, warning shots.
Saying they are not training members.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if you Wizkid or whoever,
what are your fans called? They are called SM fans, Beam Nation. What are your fans called?
We Don't Stop.
We Don't Stop.
We Don't Stop.
Are you cool with Bisake there?
Yeah, we're okay.
You're cool now?
But we're not friends.
You're not friends?
Yeah, like how people want us to be. I have my friend, he has his friend. Ask him, can somebody call him and ask, when was the last time he picked his phone and called me and say, "Oh, Bright, to say,
so you are not friends? You are not cool?
No,
you are not cool?
No. When we talk about music, we are family in the music business, but he's not my friend.
He's not your friend.
To say, be a mefa phone a friend. Samini, I count Samini as my brother.
Okay.
So I meet me for phone. Samini to me for phone, no a friend.
So you're quarreling with Bisakeda, is that it?
No.
You are not.
But we are not friends.
So you're the man.
Thanks.
And you say who say Mano Day? Okay, so that's your camera. Introduce the song and let's go.
Mekoya mabo, yeah, semedoka, me baya metio, man no size so, this style no go rush so, another one no problem. But if you try, you go see.
All right, it's all out there. Who say Mano Day? Banger from KK Fosu. Enjoy. That's all for today, Thursday. See you tomorrow. Have a great morning. Good morning.
You call me man, I did not that's the